So, fuck this movie. This movie is bad. This movie's bad. This movie's bad. Just bad. We're talking about Whiteout today, a 2009 Dark Castle film. Y'all know how I love Dark Castle with a fiery passion. I love them so much. They make some great movies and apparently some really fucking bad ones as well. With Whiteout, fuck, it's a horror film. It's a murder mystery that's set in Antarctica. Stars Kate Beckinsale, who I would happily sacrifice my life for, I think, you know. Okay, so the film starts off uh well, I guess the opening scene, right, is bullshit. I don't care. I'm not going into every fucking scene. It doesn't matter. Uh when we come into the modern day, we get this steady cam shot. He gets his Scorsese moment, the director Dominic Sena, who I actually don't think is a bad director. Do you remember California with Brad Pitt, Juliette Lewis, and David Duchovny? That's a good movie, and he made it. I like it. I like that movie. California is fucking gnarly, dude. It's rad. Whiteout, though. Oh boy. Anyway, he gets to have his Scorsese moment, just long tracking shot down the hallway. We follow Kate Beckinsale into her quarters. She's a U.S. Marshal, stationed out in Antarctica. And before she has a line, a single fucking word, before she even speaks once, she takes off all of her clothes and takes a nice steamy shower, right? So I don't know, like like film grammar wise, this film is simply articulating at this point that Kate Beckinsale, who plays Carrie, is bringing an awful lot of heat to a really cold climate. That's as complicated as this film gets. And yeah, Kate Beckinsale's got a rockin' body, and it's the best part of the movie. That's not even me just being a gross man. It's the only part of the film that is captured with any sort of commitment. I don't know. It seems like this film, it's a fucking, I would call it a train wreck, but that implies excitement. It's almost unwatchable. It's that boring. It's that embarrassingly predictable. If Kate Beckinsale wasn't in this, like I do despair to even imagine this film without her. You know, beyond like the superficial appeal of her. She's a very, very, very good actor. Quite an underrated one. She's exceptionally skilled here. She is tender, she's sensitive, a lot of emotionality, but she's also incredibly strong and resourceful, and I think brings a layer of complexity to a film that doesn't deserve it, you know? I think that Kate Beckinsale seemed like she invested a lot into the character and even tried to provide her characterization with a bit of morbid psychology that I believe the film just wastes and doesn't really fully explore. So, yeah, the best part of the film is her just taking off all of her clothes at the very beginning. It's the only captivating part of the film. The rest of the movie is fucking, I don't even have the words to describe how boring it is. Also, for a film called Whiteout, it's somehow the most, okay, it's somehow the most unambiguous and unclear films that I've ever seen in my life, right? Whiteout, uh, you're not supposed to be able to see what's happening. It's like a terrible snowstorm. It's gale force winds. You're not supposed to be able to see what is going on. Yet this film goes out of its way to amplify, kind of digitally enhance everything that is happening so that you can make it out clearly. Only what is happening is so fucking irrational or dull, that it actually doesn't make sense within the parameters of the film's vocabulary. So it's both incredibly clear, there's a great amount of clarity to the film, but I guess the language that it's using is so archaic or so fucking weak that speaking a stupid language with a great amount of clarity just exposes how artificial and how empty and shallow the overall film is. It's not truly trying to articulate anything. I can attempt to overanalyze it, like I do with Dark Castle films, and say that they're I guess there's probably notions of punishment here. And I mean, there probably is something to that erotic overtone of, it sounded like I was joking, but I do think that's a huge part of the film's articulation that Kate Beckinsale's Carrie is bringing an awful lot of heat, an awful lot of allure to a place that is both desolate and frozen, like inhospitable, uninhabitable. And yet we have something that is so magnetic and so on fire that in theory, we should have been captivated by the film, in spite of its thematic and aesthetic atmospheric emptiness. And the emptiness should have served to sophisticate the tension, but it never did. I can see like that's what the goal was. But if we can extrapolate from that kind of premise, that the horror genre uh, likes to go to these dark places, to these frozen places of the shared human experience, right? It likes to go to these very cold places that no one could survive within. Films like Gothica would say that repression is a survival technique, and without it, we would never be able to live. So that we all have these very cold places within us that we only seem to be able to confront through horror films, subconsciously, in ways that we aren't even aware of at the time. Perhaps Whiteout is positioning Carrie as a symbol of the humanity, of the warmth within these cold places, of the never-ending, like, human experience that can exist in even the most dire circumstances and the harshest environments. Horror films like to go to these very, very, very cold places, these incredibly unforgiving places, traumatic ones. And I think that when a horror film is being viewed, you're bringing part of your warmth to it as well. Or fuck this movie, I'm giving it too much credit. But I think that that is the overall messaging of the film, which could have been really fascinating had it been executed in a way that wasn't fucking awful. I mean, I find that a really interesting idea, and I think that Kate Beckinsale is an extremely good analog, great vessel for the kind of warmth and desirability of humanity, even within these unforgiving environments that horror seems to explore endlessly and even needlessly at times. I think that Kate Beckinsale would have been a perfect metaphor for that kind of shared media experience. But they fucking more than fumbled the ball, dude. They didn't even, the ball was deflated before they even started playing this fucking hypothetical game I got in my head. The stupid fucking, I can't even speak. So Whiteout's really, 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 really bad. The pacing is awful. I know that it's based on a graphic novel by Greg Rucka. I don't like Greg Rucka's work. I haven't read Whiteout, but I've read other things that fuck his name, rah rah rah, that Greg Rucka has written, and like I'm sure he's talented, but this film does feel like there is a certain amount of graphic novel psychology to it, which I don't think translates into a cinematic. It just doesn't fucking work. Fuck it. You can tell in the 2000s when studios started to flirt with the idea of adapting graphic novels into films. And you can tell, I always love those articles or those videos that are like, 20 movies you didn't know were based on comic books. And it's like, dude, of course you can tell. Everything about the psychology of the films are dumb as fuck, like are childish or I wouldn't even say childish. I think I have a harsher criticism. I think that comic book mentality when translated directly into cinematic like texturing, I believe that it's not just dumb as fuck. It's actually a sanitization of the sophistications that would normally accompany such themes that like Whiteout attempts to explore, if they were in a truly adult cinematic context. And I don't really care if that annoys anyone. You can tell when a fucking movie is based on a graphic novel because the psychology of the characters is awkwardly and awesomely unsophisticated. you know? And I'm not someone who's saying that I want like a deep amount of sophistication with everything. You watch my Dark Castle videos, okay? I think that this is one of the most sophisticated films of all time because of its dedication to superficiality. You know, I'm not some sort of like uber pretentious fucking guy. I just think that Whiteout and films like it that came out in the mid to late 2000s that were based on graphic novels, I think it is such a fucking obvious weakness, the psychology that it borrows, that it lifts, that it adopts from its source material. The psychology is so fucking inarticulately simplistic that it's really not worth your time to actually engage with it. I do think that Kate Beckinsale, like I said, is such a startlingly captivating image, like a screen presence, a figure, and on top of that, a multifaceted and deeply layered and committed actor. I think that Kate Beckinsale is incredible to watch, and at least we get to watch her for an hour and 40 minutes here. I think that there was some interest in exploring like the symbolic relevance of her warmth within this incredibly cold and toxic environment. But these are all wasted things. These are situations where the lack of any sort of loyalty to a horrific or even a gothic sort of psychology, mentality, framework, cinematic or otherwise, the complete lack of it is exposing the shallow, hollow core that is at the center of Whiteout. Whiteout is really bad. It's the worst Dark Castle film I've covered so far by a significant margin as well. Whiteout is just uninteresting and fuck the movie. It's fucking bad. Don't watch it. Don't ever watch it. You will gain nothing from it. Well, I mean, there is that opening scene, that shower scene, right? Okay, watch it for like 5 minutes and then fucking bail, bro. Save yourself. It's not worth it.